Hello and welcome to another Yellowfin University video. This is a continuation of our JavaScript chart series. The last video we talked about the three different functions within our JavaScript charts: generate charts, process data, and finally do drawing. In this video we will talk about how to load external libraries, external JavaScript libraries. So if you want to use D3.js or Chart.js or all that plethora of charting libraries out there for JavaScript, you're going to need to load them in to be able to use them. So we'll show you how to do that here. You can we have two ways of doing it. You can actually bring that library in as a local copy and save it in your root folder, or you can use a CDN. So you can just pop in a web address there to where it's being hosted, and you can use that as well. So we use Requirejs to bring in external external JavaScript libraries in general. That's what you see here, this require statement. So we say require the location of where that JavaScript library sits. We put in the variable here for our function if we need to call it. So D3 is initiated by D3. I put in D3 here. And then finally, you'll be able to use that charting library within the require function, and that's what we're seeing here. You don't have to use the require statement only in do drawing. You can move it into process data. You can move it into generate chart. You can move it into a new function if you wanted to. Completely up to you. You can use more than one library. You can bring in more than one library with require. You just simply, here's the path to one, put a comma, and pass a path to another one here, and then make sure you have two function calls over here, call it TG, and that will allow you to pass in more JavaScript libraries if you need them. But let's take a look at this. So we see this one here is local. Well, Yellowfin's coming with, I think it's about 3 different libraries that we have shipped with Yellowfin that you have access to, and then you can go out and get as many as you want and bring them into Yellowfin, of course. So let's open up our folder here. Come back to root. So right now we're looking at the root folder within Yellowfin. We'll come down to JS. We'll click on charting libraries, and here are the different libraries that we ship with. So we ship with C3.js, Chart.js, and finally D3. We have 2 different versions of D3, which I believe is version 3 and version 4, and you can go into the folders and actually find the library itself. And that's the path that we're passing in here, as you can see. Passing in the JS folder, charting libraries, D3, and then finally D3. You don't have to include the D3.js. You just have to put the name of the actual JS file. So to open our file here back up, charting libraries, go into D3, and we'll see we're calling this one D3. We didn't have to put .js, so you do not have to do that. That's how you would bring in a library and actually have that library saved locally on your server, on your Yellowfin instance. So you can add, let's say you wanted to add crossfilter.js. You can simply grab that off the internet somewhere, come in here, create a folder for crossfilter, or just put the crossfilter right here if you wanted to. And then you just simply go in here and pass the path to that new charting library. Now, let's say you wanted to bring in the library from a CDN. Excuse me here. Let's go ahead and browse to, like the D3 one, D3.js. There we go. So we have access to it here if we just copy this here. Control-C, bring that in. And we can just simply replace this, and now we have the latest version of D3 that we can then code with. So you, of course, can bring in libraries from a CDN or some sort of hosting, whoever's hosting that file. You can do that as well. Require is pretty flexible. I encourage you to go out there on the internet, take a look at Requirejs. There are some things, like if you have a non-AMD library, you will need to shim. So take a look at what shimming is out there, but Requirejs is a very powerful library that allows us to bring in other modules, essentially, other JavaScript charting libraries in this instance and code with them. So that about does it for this video. Thank you for tuning in. The next video we will be going over the options object. Thanks for tuning in.